Hello, guys. I'll tell you a story. About it was a strange event. Anyway, we left Steve when we were on vacation. We started to head home, and we went down through the route that takes you down through Niagara Falls and down into upper state New York through the wine country, and we were on the main highway, a big 4-laner going down, down through New York State. All of a sudden, my dad, he says, I want to go off this highway and I want to go down through the wine country. Me and my mother always says, oh, okay, you want to go down through the wine country, let's go, So we started driving through the wine country up in New York State. And we were driving along, and what's strange about it is my dad was driving along, and all of a sudden he drove along past this farm on the left-hand side. He says, I want to go in here. My mother says, well, why do you want to go in here for? He starts slowing the truck down, and he come to a stop, and he stopped in this on this road that led down into a farm. My mother says, why are you pulling over here for? And he says, I don't know. He says, I'm just going. I'm doing it. So he pulls over and he starts driving into this farm. On the right-hand side, there's a great big long vineyard and grapes hanging down off of the grapes, And on the other side, like there's an orchard and there's a house there. He says, I'm pulling into this house. And my mother says, do you know these people? And he says, no. No. He pulls into this house and he stops. And he gets out of the truck. And my mother says, what are we stopping here for? She was still like, and I was like the same way. Well, why are we stopping here? I didn't understand. So my father goes walking over to the door, knocks on the door. A man comes out. And, my father says, all of a sudden I look like I was sitting there in the truck, still sitting in the truck. I was like, I didn't understand anything's going on. My mother started walking up too. And my father started hugging this guy, and I'm shaking hands and everything with this guy. I don't know what he said to the guy. I still don't know. Anyway, the guy's wife come out on the porch, and she went over and hugged my mother like she knew her. I'm telling you, this is the way it happened. It's really bizarre. And the old fella there, he says, come on in, we've cooked dinner. Have dinner with us. I mean, we just met these people. Didn't know who the heck they were. It's like weird. It's weird. So I walked up to the porch, and my mother says, come on in, we're going to have dinner. I'm telling you, this is the way honest to God, this is the way it happened. So I went on inside the house, and they said, we're going to have dinner. They said, let's all sit in the living room and listen to some music. And so we went into the living room, sat down, and it's like, we just got there. We don't know these people. And they're acting seriously. My parents and them were acting like they're long-lost relatives. That's what made it bizarre and weird. To me. I don't know. I mean, but I'm telling you the way it happened. Sat down in the living room, and the old lady, she had one of those record machines, and she put a record on, and she played it softly, and it was like a nice music and everything. And we were all sitting in the living room. It was a very nice living room, very well furnished. It was a very nice house with very exquisite furnishings. These people had money, right? We sat there, and we had a nice little. Everybody was talking quietly, and everybody was getting along really nice. It's really bizarre, but nice. It was very nice. So anyway, we all talked for a while, and she said, come on in, I'm going to serve dinner. And we all sat down at the kitchen table like we're family. And at first she served this sort of zucchini soup. It was very tasty soup. It had zucchinis in it and everything. And they said, these are fresh zucchinis from our garden. She said, we just made these up, And then at dinner, she went and we were all sitting there. It was really good. It was tasty. I'll tell you, the food was tasty. It had nice bread you could dip into the soup. You know, she had a nice thing full of buttered bread there on the table. Beautiful table spread. Beautiful big kitchen with cupboards all around the outer edge of the kitchen, and like it was a big kitchen, big living room too. It was a big house. It was like a dining room, I guess, attached to the kitchen. The kitchen was over there, and there was like a big dining room here. It's a great big table. I mean, this was a long time ago. It's a little bit hard for me to remember exactly. But the conversation around dinner, the old fellow was talking about his farm to my father, and he was saying, "Do you like the garden?" My father was telling him about his garden down in Florida and everything, you know, and everybody was getting along famously. Just like we were relatives. It's just like we were relatives. Honest to God. I'm telling you. So anyway, we all had dinner and everything, and she brought out this nice steaks and stuff that were cooked and everything, and she had zucchini she'd fried in the frying pan and everything. And what a meal! It was the best meal I've had in a long time. Quite seriously. These people treated us so nice, you know. So then after dinner, the old fella, I can't remember what his name was now, but he took my dad out to show him his vineyard. He had like a 100-acre size vineyard, and it was like, I think he sold it to Welch's to make grape juice with or something, you know. And he had a beautiful garden next to the house, and he had a great big orchard, and we went out to the orchard, and we picked apples and stuff, and he picked a whole bunch of grapes, big bag full of grapes for us. I'm telling you guys, it was very interesting. But I was still sitting there with this feeling like, we don't know these people. You know, I was just sitting there with this weird feeling because the way it was going down, the way the whole thing was happening. Like, I was about 18 years old, but and my parents and all of them were acting like they were family. Now, I'm telling you, this is why it was weird. But it was very nice. It was extremely nice. I really like this, you know. And I never experienced anything quite like that before, you know. Because my own family back in, well, you know, I did the stories about Crazy Steve, right? How welcome was I? I was sleeping that first night, and he was shaking the truck, telling me, "Get out, you big fat bozo, wake up," you know, and shaking the truck and everything. And moved to this, where this older, elderly gentleman was so nice, and he's not a relative of mine. It's really, the world is an interesting place, honest to gosh. So anyway, he took us around the farm, and when we were done, you know, must have spent 4 or 5 hours with them that afternoon. Quite seriously. And these people had money because they owned the vineyard and they owned a lot of land there and everything, you know. And I think he had trucks and everything, you know. He said had quite a big business and stuff going there and stuff for Welch's, I guess. And anyways, it was so nice. It was really nice. Toward the end of the day, he says, "Do you guys like cats?" And they said, my parents said, "Yeah, we like cats." So he says, "Listen," he says, "my cats had kittens." He says, "I want to give you guys a couple cats, a couple kittens," you know. And my parents said, "Okay, well, we'd like to have a pet. We haven't got any pets at home." And my mother says, "Yeah, we'd like 2, if that's okay." And he says, "Yeah, that's fine. And come out and pick from the litter." And we went out and we picked 2 cats. So we thought we picked a boy and a girl. So it was this one little gray one, and it was kind of short fur, and there was this longer fur one. It was kind of white and black fur. We thought the white and black one was a girl. So all the way home, you know, we had these 2 cats, 2 kittens, and so the one I thought was a girl, I called it she. Her, like say her, there's her over there. Go get that her, get her and stuff, right? And the other one was obvious. It was going to be called Smokey because, I mean, it was short fur and the fur was gray color and everything. So I called that one. Obvious the name for that one. I said Smokey. But her, what are we going to name her? Later on, my mother picked it up and looked it over real good. She says, "It's a boy." I said, "Okay, man." Like Herman, because it was a her, We all thought it was a her at first, but then we found out later it was a boy, so Herman. We named it Herman. So it was Smokey and Herman. So we went home, and these cats grew up. Herman was the biggest one. He was a big boy, but I'm going to tell you about Herman. Herman was always he wasn't very aggressive. Smokey was the boss, Smokey was a boy, too. Smokey would run over and swat Herman whenever he saw Herman doing something he didn't like him doing. Or Herman was at the food dish or something, and it was Smokey's dish, and Smokey wanted the food. Smokey put his paw on top of Herman's head, and he'd go, "Rrr," and Herman would be like, "Oh, what did I do?" Anyway, so that's the story of how we got Smokey and Herman. It's kind of an unusual story, but it was a nice story because, it's just the way it happened. You had to be there. It was a little bit weird. It was weird, but it was very nice. Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. I'm glad to be home. Bye-bye, guys.